Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Magnus Carlsen is back to Over the Board Chess. It's almost a month after he lost that famous game to Hans Niemann at the Singfield Cup, and this is his first game after that. He's playing in the European Club Cup with his team Offerspil from Norway, so let's see how he did. And he was playing with the black pieces against Nikita Meshkovs, a strong grandmaster from Latvia. I've actually also played him at the Olympiad in 2016, and I can tell you he's definitely not a player to be underestimated. He beat me in that game. So let's see how it went. So he played one of d4, and Magnus played knight f6, c4, and e6. So the very solid Nimzo Indian defense. Now, if we have a look at how this game went, perhaps he might have regretted not playing something like the Pierce or the Modern, which he has been playing a lot lately, and he also had a lot of success with in the Julius Baer Generation Cup. But okay, after e6, his opponent plays knight f3, d5, and g3, so the Catalan. Now here there's a lot of things black can do. Black can capture this pawn on c4, black can also go bishop e7, or the move Magnus chose, bishop e4 check, bishop d2, and now bishop e7. So you might be wondering like, okay, why does black lure this bishop to d2? Well, very often white wants to use the square for his knight and go for a very quick e4 push in the center. So bishop g2, c6, queen c2, castles, and Magnus plays b6. So if he wants to bring his bishop out a6 or b7, go knight bd7, rook c8, and black generally has a very solid position, but these types of positions are very difficult to win. His opponent, rated at 2550 Grandmaster, played pretty well in this game. He played bishop f4, bishop a6 by Magnus, and now pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, and rook to c1. And at first glance, people might be thinking like, okay, his opponent is just trying to play symmetrical because he's 300 points below rated, he's just playing for a draw. But actually that's not the case here. Magnus is slightly worse, and these moves are actually pretty good. And it's not easy for black to equalize. Magnus played knight bd7, knight c3, and knight h5 to try to get this bishop on f4, queen a4, takes. And so we get to this position where white has two knights and black has a knight and a bishop. But this queen on a6 from white is pretty annoying. And if white gets another move, he wants to go knight b5 and rook c7. So it's difficult for black to deal with that. And this bishop on e7 is lacking clear targets. Magnus played queen to c8 to try to exchange the active queen on a6. His opponent took and played knight b5. A good move. White is threatening to take on c8 and then take this pawn on a7. So Magnus played rook to d8. Now came knight c7, an excellent move, and rook c6. White is ready to take full control over the c-file. Rook b7, knight a6, great move because Magnus wanted to go here to kick the rook out. g5, Magnus gained space on this side of the board. Rook ac1, g4, knight e1, knight f6, knight d3, and bishop d6. And so far his opponent has played pretty much a perfect game. Again, white has perfect control over the c-file. Black has gained a little bit of space on the king side. And now the question is, how does white proceed, right? I mean, this happens so often, I think, in everyone's games. You get to a position, you're like, okay, I've done everything perfectly, but now what? Now, to start off, white should have played the move h3, and black has to make a decision. Does he weaken his own pawn structure? I doubt he would do that. I think Magnus would have kept the pawn on g4 intact. But here white has a very strong move, knight to c7. And white wants to go knight b5 and hit this bishop, which will then have to make an awkward decision. Let's say black plays king g7, white can go knight b5, hitting the bishop. And again, where do you go? If you go to b8, white is knight b4, followed by knight a6. And this bishop over here is in a bit of a pickle. If white follows it up by rook to c8, it could get trapped. And if black goes bishop to f8, well then white infiltrates with rook to c7. And if you go rook d7 and rook c8, followed by knight e5, and black is facing a very difficult defense here. I don't know if Magnus would have held the position here. Anyway, white played rook to c8, but here the traits kind of relieve the pressure. Magnus took, played king to g7, h3, h5, takes. But with more traits, I think white should not have taken, by the way, because this pawn on h5 can be a weakness later on if somehow this bishop disappears and you get a knight to f4. But here, yeah, more traits happen. Knight to b4, a5, knight c6. Probably rook c7 already equalized the game here. Knight d7, a4 by white, fixing the pawns on light squares. Magnus played king f6, f3, takes, king to g7, king f2, knight f6, g4, and Magnus here traded off the rooks, leading to this equal endgame. He went knight e8, knight a7, bishop e8, knight b5, knight f6, b3, and the players were just shuffling back and forth because there's not much either player can do here, and so this game ended in a draw. And it just really goes to show how difficult chess is at the top level. If you play a strong grandmaster, someone who's rated 2600, 2500, and they play very solid, then sometimes with black it's very difficult to beat them. And we see that here in this game. Magnus, the best player in the world by a big margin, was simply not able to do it. His opponent played very well, he was better for the rest of the game. Magnus eventually managed to equalize, but was never in any hope of winning the game. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.